Well, hello, this is dear Benjamin Eble, I think, sorry. It's been a while, we should talk one of these days. I know the 51st state concept, I know it very well, and I always say you need independence before you can get there. I know for a fact with the United States of America itself, if you're not constituted, you're not welcome in as a state. Doesn't matter historical changes, they won't take peoples who are not constituted into that similar system. It's got to be very close. There's a number of territories out there in the United States, protectorates, that have never ever ascended to that level, and they're never going to be states, let alone a British jewel known as Canada, where USA has hands off anyway. And they're okay with that. They're okay with that because in history, and I think what's missing here on your side of it, Ben, is the civics. Americans didn't just wake up with 50 or so founding fathers who said, hey, let's have a Declaration of Independence and declare war against the British Empire. It was decades in the making. A lot of people don't talk about the civics. Actual history, you have to go into big academic history, and you'll find it. You'll find the town halls, the community centers, the deteriorating trade between these colonists with the British Empire. They kept restricting in laws year after year over many decades, and word spread. People were meeting in town halls in secret throughout those 13 colonies known as the Americas to rebel. And it's a small area of the United States today, northeastern corner. To put it in perspective, British Quebec was much larger. It went all the way down to Louisiana. There were massive territories out west. All of that, which was the Spanish Empire, massive. You even have French Empire, British Empire, which is all of Canada, and more when you look at British Quebec. And then you have the mass of the Spanish Empire and the tiny British 13 colonies, who over decades and through civics and training like the videos I do, people meeting, growing, strengthening. It certainly did not happen overnight. You certainly did not see hundreds of thousands of American colonists of the British Empire come together and see that happen instantly. It took a long time, much civics training, much study, much sharing of ideas, and absolute building because of the abuse. Now, Canada's been going through it 30 years of absolute abuse, equatable to that of the British colonies. And they're all taking it, just like Ireland and Scotland and many more, because it's institutionalized, generational. They're born into it. They're born slaves. For African Americans, they can understand that. And you look at their studies, born into it, many generations, generational. You'd think, oh, it's easy today to say, oh, why didn't they rebel? Why didn't they kill the masters? Well, Canadians are in it too. Mass immigration, like this tour right across Canada. Every store I went into, generational Americans, whether they be Spanish, even at times Middle Eastern or Pacific Islanders, of course African Americans, Caucasian Americans, Asian Americans, their accents are American from one side to the other. They're generationally American. There is no mass immigration there. I'm sure there's illegal in all those centers. I believe that. I certainly didn't see it. I mean, I could go through Detroit here, but I have no time for it this time, folks. But I did massive in the heart of Chicago, Minneapolis and St. Paul, right in the heart of downtown. Went through all of it. Didn't see anything remotely close to Canada, folks. Nothing remotely close. Your average American will lose their shit stepping into Canada for a few weeks, going to stores, dealing with the service center, malls, gas stations, eateries, you name it, the filth, the bathrooms, the lack of access to bathrooms, the overwhelming poverty. I think a good 85 percentile of real, true, multi-generational Americans who are the mass majority, regardless of race, would lose their shit. They go, wow, is this crazy? Spending 2 weeks in any major city in Canada. And the sad part is that is a staple of Canada. And the closer you get to that upper and lower Canada, it's the same. It doesn't change. Ben, these civics have to happen in Canada. It's like this car I'm driving. It's Canadian. It's made for Canada. The option of AC isn't there. Brutal. It's not AC, even equatable with windows down when you're well into your 30s. Let alone today, I was stuck at toll stations where literally hours to get out of Chicago. 2 hours just for the one bridge. Another hour in the one toll to lead to Detroit, and then a half hour for the Michigan to Detroit toll. And not that it's big money. Again, this northeastern passage, it starts on Ontario Road. That's what it's called, Ontario Road, leaving Chicago. And of course, I know how this goes. It just gets more and more expensive, more and more crummy, more and more congested, more and more abrasive, and you can feel it in the people. I'm feeling it since I left Chicago. It just gets worse and worse as you go. The rat race, the traffic, the roads are always tumultuous, and I know it's only going to get worse as I get across the border and into the GTA. I already know the toll system there. Brutal for Ontarians. It's conditioned. It's even spread into the United States. We've had more of an effectual change on the States than I think Americans wish to even address. And I think, Ben, you're just removed from it because you're in a different part of the world. But those northern states now, to their predecessors of 1776, are not exactly what they were then as they are now. And I think Canada attributes that. Yes, it's not an epiphany I've had. It's what I teach, that Canada is the British Empire jewel. It's the greatest thing that the British Empire ever created. It's their masterpiece. And Canada's design, its constitution, is the basis of much evil in our world today. And it's responsible for that. It's the template for that. South Africa apartheid, Israel 1917, the 2018 amendments that are just like the Germany's 1933 Enabling Act, all a reprint of Canada's constitution, its preferred people, and its defined class system, and then the savage class people, known as the Indian Act 1876. I say codified and constituted because it's written, it's a design that anyone in the world can pick up and model their system after, and we've seen great evils come from that. Imperial Japan did the same thing too. Japan came in its imperial time to British Columbia, the most expensive place, blows California out of the water. The places in East Vancouver that are what would be a $500,000 average American home tops is topping out and beating Beverly Hills, Hollywood, California, and those are massive mansions. It's like they're the same price as your average mountainside 5-6 bedroom double attached garage in East Vancouver. Just pathetic. And Canadians accept this. They accept the institutionalization. They have no idea of civics. And then that's where I say they think that driving this car like I am, rolling down your windows and getting the fresh air, is somehow equatable to AC. When it's not. They're not even the same thing. But Canadians believe it. That analogy, Canadians believe it because the Crown told them. People are conditioned to think that this is great. I get properties, $1.5 million mortgage. I'm in the rat race. Canadian financial banks, the 5 chartered banks under the Crown are somehow good. And they're rotten, they're evil. They're the most wealthiest banks in the entire world. There's big reports on it this week. They blow anything in the USA out of the water. And it's amazing that people still pump out so many things on all these evil billionaires around the world. But the worst takers are right here in Canada and throughout the Commonwealth and British Empire that the Democrats are fully in bed with. Super love it. We're seeing the corruption of media. When I was in St. Paul in that cherry pit, and this is right in the heart of the African American community of Minneapolis, St. Paul. I was right there, beautiful area, didn't really feel unsafe. I mean, all the Americans have firearms, I know that. I guess it could be trouble, but the homes were beautiful, they were nice. What really startled me at that Cherry Pit Lounge is the big screens were all running ABC network and going off on the British Crown. They're already pumping that out, pumping out something so evil. And I really see that with the Democrats and Joe Biden. Republicans are at least designed with the GOP. They got people in there too they call rhinos that want to see that British system. We know President Joe Biden in 2021 signed with Boris Johnson the New Atlantic Charter, erasing everything that the great nation of America and even Russia of its time brought forward with those world treaties as the allies to end colonialism and the idea of divine human beings, class structure, slavery, and savagery, dehumanizing peoples. And it's scary to see that swept aside for Green New Deal socialism out of the British Empire. So no, America's not safe, not by a large margin. There are a lot of great states who are resisting, but there's a lot, like when I was in Chicago, where I see it's nearly 50-50. There's a divide there, and it can easily go either way. That's scary, folks. And I mean, it's already that way in Canada, and it's extreme. And it's the lack of civics that needs to be educated at the lowest levels, the town halls, the communities, the neighborhoods. It's got to be done. That's why I do all these videos. I do this education. Until more Canadians wake up, there is no hope for any kind of we the people and independence, a movement of any kind, let alone a 50 statehood. That's so much after all the other work that has to be done that we're literally need decades of education on that, and it's not happening. And why? Because mass institutionalization, crafty control of the media, and basically world powers that have taken over all of civil society and the educational institutions, that of Canada, absolutely. Like, how is it that people can't read their Constitution? How does the Americans know theirs like the back of their hand? Well, because it's called civics and education. It's always there. It's getting eroded a little bit, but it's still very strong. Canadians don't have a clue. You talk about that 98%, they don't even know what constitutionalism is. They think it's a charter. Magna Carta, British Empire, Royal Family, a charter 1982. That's pathetic, considering it's not even a right of the federal government, which means Canadians don't have any rights at all unless the government, appointed or elected, says you do. And Canadians just don't know that. They believe that they have human rights commissions and tribunals that work for them. They don't. They work for the Crown. They're not constituted. There's no development of any written laws that cement that. It's all Crown, Crown, Crown. Crown decides. And there's no laws for the people of Canada. Absolutely none at the major provincial level. Never has been. It's been called to be, but it was just a con job, maybe to trick countries like Russia, to trick countries like USA, and it's done a fantastic job of doing that. It's sad. I don't know what else to say. But it's a big video, and people should share it, and I hope it finds you well, Ben, because it's truth. And it's truth people need to know, because if you go without the education, you're never going to have enough. And I can tell you, between the Declaration of Independence and actual war against the British Empire, there was massive done and taught and bestowed upon all the American colonists at the time in town halls, communities, secret events and meetings. Way more, just like ending slavery and then again ending segregation and making civil rights happen. There was a whole decade upon decade upon decades of education and training at the very lowest levels, and a lot of sacrificial lambs and people who had to put themselves out there and never got to see the promised land. And that's what I do. I know there's much, much more to do, and I can't even entertain statehood because we're not even there yet, not even close to even waking Canadians up to what they have to do to get to even a point before that point. So decades upon decades. It's not to be negative, folks. It's to be honest and to educate and have a viable path forward that will work. And that means starting at that level, and it requires a lot of work. And I do that. So God bless everybody. Share. Get it out there. Bye now.